we definitely want more wins, in the win column for sure. So, it's definitely going to be taking the leap, but, we're putting that pressure upon ourselves because we know let's do it. Because we could see ourselves improving, and I think everybody's just one, goal focused is having a postseason next year for sure.
Yeah. I remember me saying we were gonna make the playoffs this year. I ain't realized how tough it was. But, I'll get back to that though. I'll get back on there.
Previously, we took a look at the schedule. Now it's time to answer the question, will the Detroit Pistons make the playoffs? Let's first look at the roster. Cade, Bay, Stu, and Ivy are most likely locks to be starters, with one of Bagley, Dern, or Noel at center. The Pistons play 4 non-playoff teams to start, which will give the first 5 time to mesh. Look at it this way, if the squad stays healthy through preseason and to be good in the regular season, that will be 8 games the starters have under their belt. This is better compared to last season where we played the Bulls 2 games in a row. As we saw last year, the bench played way better basketball than the starters. That can't happen again. Speaking of the bench, the Pistons are a deeper team than they were a year ago. You have Livers at 100%, Hammy, Burks, and even guys like Braxton Key who are on 2-way deals. Because of the depth, I think this team can survive an 82-game season, which means everything is riding on the starting 5 making things happen. Next, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference. The Atlanta Hawks now have an all-star backcourt in Trae Young and Dejounte Murray. Plus they still have a good front court with Clint Capella and John Collins. So the Hawks are a very dangerous team. Then there's the Boston Celtics who added Malcolm Brogdon. In the finals, that team desperately needed a point guard, so the Brogdon addition is big for them. Moving on to the Toronto Raptors, who added Otto Porter Jr. and Detroit's own Josh Jackson. Can't even lie, it's going to be tough watching JJ in a Raptors jersey, but I'm glad he found a place to land. Here's hoping the other Jackson finds a new home as well. On deck are the Cleveland Cavaliers. Outside of Troy Weaver, the Cavs GM is one of the best in the league. Last summer, Cleveland made some great moves, which made them a force in the East. Now this summer, they add all-star Donovan Mitchell. Their team already had stars in Darius Garland and Jared Allen, along with a great player in Evan Mobley. So yeah, the Cavs are very stacked and will be that way for a while. The Bucks and Heat are 2 teams that have made or won the finals, so they're running it back again. With all that in mind, I expect the Cavs, Heat, Celtics, Bucks, Raptors, and Hawks to make the playoffs. So that fills 6 spots out of 10. Moving on to the question marks, the Sixers, Nets, and Bulls are very good teams on paper, but are fragile teams. Philly especially, they are relying on injury-prone players in James Harden and Joel Embiid. They also have Doc Rivers who's in the hot seat, and that thing is boiling at this point. If I had to pick a team to implode this season, it would definitely be the Sixers. The Nets have a similar issue with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, both injury prone and on top of that wanting to leave Brooklyn. Chemistry for them took a hit when KD threw head coach Steve Nash under the bus this summer. If all that nonsense wasn't enough, they still have to deal with Ben Simmons. Dude has a serious back issue, which is something to keep note of. There's also the problem of him refusing to take a jumper, so the net spacing is going to be pretty bad. Third team from this bunch is the Chicago Bulls. They started off great last season but fell off when Lonzo Ball got injured. New reports came out that Lonzo could possibly miss even more time this season. They added Goran Dragic to replace him in the meantime, but Goran can only help them on offense, whereas Lonzo made them an elite defensive team. So yeah, those 3 teams are an injury or disgruntled star away from being out of the playoff race. With that said, on paper, those 3 are still playoff bound. That leaves 1 play-in or playoff spot available, with 3 teams in the hunt, those being the Wizards, Knicks, and our Pistons. If the Pistons figure things out, they are miles better than both those teams. The Knicks gave us all their depth to get Jalen Brunson, and they still have Julius Randle on their roster, who was out of his mind most of last year. Despite having a defensive-minded coach in Tom Thibodeau, New York only has a couple elite defenders on their roster. Teams are going to be looking at Randle and Brunson like barbecue chicken.
Listen, big fella, when you get the ball in the post, you have to go, what's that? Barbecue chicken alert, barbecue chicken alert.
So I don't see them as a serious threat at all. That means the only competition we have is the Washington Wizards, which I can't even lie, they had our number last year. Also, they added a lot of depth, including Monte Morris. So head-to-head matchups with them will be must-win games. After looking over everything, I've concluded there's only 2 things stopping the Pistons from making the playoffs, or playing tourney, which are chemistry and the Washington Wizards. Ladies and gentlemen, these aren't impossible hurdles. A lot of the reason chemistry suffered last year was because of injuries and sickness. Rona is still around, but hopefully won't impact things like previous years. then I feel like if the Pistons do pull together, they're a better team than the Wizards. But it all starts with chemistry. Once that is solid, the playoffs is a reality. And that was with this video. The road to the playoffs is tough and the Pistons will have to earn their spot, but I have faith in them to be the dark horse of the East. At this point, I doubt we tank this season. Looking at the early mock drafts, most of the top players will be guards, and I don't expect Pistons fans to jump on the Victor, however you say his last name, bandwagon, with Sekou Demboya being a bust and Killian Hayes used as a punchline. So yeah, if we don't start out well, I expect Pistons fans to be learning French here soon. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to see more Pistons content. That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.